Hi guys, Tuger here with a new video, and this video will be a Elemental Shaman PvP guide video for 10.2 Dragonflight, which is season 3, and I have pretty much one main build, a second build which is also a main build, but it is adding something by losing something, and also a third build which is a fun build you can use in BGs, in arenas, but I would not really recommend it if you want to push any rating on a competitive level, because people are going to punish you, except if you're playing like in Castle Cleaves or versus casters in general, but I'm going to show you why. We're going to talk about, that's the expectations of the video, stats, gems, embellishments, enchants, and also let's talk about the tier set. Do you go for it? Do you only go for the second, like the 2-piece or the 4-piece? I'm going to say also which ones are the most value pieces to get, but in general we're going to discuss about that. Then I'm going to talk about the builds. First and foremost, probably the longest section about the main build, then the second build and why I actually don't play that much with the second build, and the third build, which is the fun build, which I would recommend if you really want to have fun and play like a different build than the main build. Then we're going to talk about 2s, 3s, Soul Shuffle RBGs as well, Solo Q RBG as well, and then we're going to talk about the rotation and the macros I'm using currently for Elemental Shaman. Anyways, let's talk really quickly about Elemental Shaman. First and foremost, a little word about Elemental Shaman in general. It is a fantastic caster. I think it's a very strong caster. I think it is slept on. It is killable, for sure. I think the CC is also not incredible, but I think the utility is very nice, and you're very strong versus casters. Now, the issue is casters are not really meta these days, with DH and DK being so strong. Boomy, as a great partner for DH, also is a great anti-caster in general. It's very hard to deal with that comp in general in 3s, but also just in general, I think the current best players are best classes and specs are actually natural enemies to casters. But I think once those are nerfed, not to the ground, but nerfed to the sense where they're out of the meta, I think Elemental Shaman will be shining bright like a diamond. So let's talk about really quickly the stats that I'm going for. We are going for full haste. And I know sometimes it is fun to play full mastery as Elemental Shaman, but I do feel like we are past that point of going full mastery, which was a thing in Shadowlands. I do feel like full haste is the most serviceable one, but also the most reliable one, the most consistent one, and it's also more fun to play whenever you have more haste. Also, it's very viable to play with this build with any builds that you have with this video, because you have a fast casting speed, so you're not really punished by casting spells, but you're pretty much punished about, like, let's say getting dispelled on a flame shock, for example. We're running with 0 crit, but I think with tier set it will be inevitable to actually have some crit on your gear. But crit is an interesting stat where you can actually play full ascendance, I would say. Not really the proc one, but like really the 3 minutes or the 2-minute CD one if you're like going a bit down the line on the spec tree. You can play full crit and it can do some big meatballs, but I think the only problem is I feel it doesn't play as smoothly as full haste. We have a lot of versatility, but that will be compensated with crafting gear, but also with tier set. So that will be compensated. We do go for some crafting gear. For example, we do play with Inferior Boots of Reprieve. It is haste verse. It gives us a primary stat every time we're going to dispel an enemy or loss of control of effects. So, for example, interrupting or hex or whatever is going to activate that like primary stat, which is a great thing because I think it is going to help you for bursting. And as Elemental Shaman, you do burst a lot and very often. For the other stats, we go for haste mostly. Gems wise, we go haste mastery because we don't want to overcap haste as well for now, because we can't really go to super high levels just with gear. So you can also build some mastery as well, or you can also build some crits to actually offset a bit that haste that you have too much on your gear. We have speed on cloak, speed on bracers. We should have speed on boots, but we just made that crafting gear. We have intellect, stamina on legs. You should have the belt enchant if you have like a epic gear piece, like a 489 gear piece. You can afford that. Just buy it, and it will give you more stamina. We do play with Insignia of Alacrity because, again, we're bursting most of the time, so whenever it procs, it does feel like you're doing still damage, even though you didn't really pop any CDs. Elemental Shaman is one of the classes that don't really have too many CDs to play with, and you have a lot of consistent to also a lot of burst damage with your spec. We're playing with Sophic Devotion on our weapon. And right now we have mastery versatility on your weapon because we don't really have a choice. But once we have a choice for a haste weapon, it would be better to go for haste. Embellishments, you should go for precog. Personally, I would like to have precog on one of my rings. But if I can't, or if it will take too long to get it, I would just put it somewhere else on my gear. But precog is really, really needed, especially since you have multiple schools. You're not really as punished to get kicked, so if you can bait some kicks because of your casting spells, that could help. And also, many people don't realize that sometimes you get kicked about something that is not important, and you can actually fake cast it. It will give you some immunity of 4 seconds immunity for interrupts or whatever, and you can have a safe hex, which is very important to land some killing blows. So that's it. I want to talk about really quickly the foreset. The foreset is very important in my opinion. I think it is a rushable foreset. You promote your wave, also cast an elemental blast at the target at 70% effectiveness. That is not nerfed in PvP. I do think the effects that you get, the 3 effects that you get, that is nerfed in PvP. Grants you all 3 elemental blast bonus effects for 5 seconds instead of 10 seconds. The set bonus also gives you lava burst burns your target for 10% additional damage over 4 seconds. So that is not nerfed in PvP. Your next 2 casts of lava burst to also hit up to 3 additional targets affected by your flame shock. 4, and that is nerfed in PvP. 32%, it would be 32.5%, but they don't do decimals in World of Warcraft. So we have 32.5% of normal damage. So I think that is a very, very strong foreset, especially in 3s or in solo shuffle, and also in solo queue RPGs. That is going to come up probably next patch. I hope so, at least. But this is going to be a very strong foreset. The damage that it will bring is unparalleled, but also we have the promote your wave with the elemental blast, which can actually give you a lot of stats, but also the damage is going to be very nice to play with. So yeah, I'm excited to play with that. And I think spec wise, you could actually have some weird specs working because of this 2 set, but I'm going to test a lot once we have the 2 set and once we have the builds available to us for testing. So piece wise, which one do you want to have and which one you don't really want to have? You want to have legs. It's first mastery. Mastery is a kind of a bad, it's not a bad stat, but it's not the best stat for Elemental Shaman. So you want to have legs anyways. The chest is haste mastery, which is a good chest, so you should go for chest 100%. And then you have like bad choices. You have the helm, you have the shoulder, and you have the hands. I think personally, if you have a choice to make, I would go for hands and I would go for head. Unfortunately, shoulders have crit haste, which is like primary stat is critical strike, so it's not really ideal. But also in general, unfortunately, crit is just a bad stat in general for shamans. But we have a versatility on the head at least, and on the hands we have some good mastery. So again, mastery will help with the overload on the spells. That is going to add some DPS, but you will have to compensate haste on probably other pieces with crafting gear. For example, your rings should be double haste, for example, and your neck should also be haste, and with gems going into haste as well. So you have to compensate it, but I think the foreset really is worth it. And overall, I think Enhancement Shaman, like I made a video about it, like a guide, I think foreset is not bad, but it's like something you don't really want to. But if you're playing Restoration Shaman, you do want 4-set. I think 4-set with Restoration Shaman is actually very good because Mastery is very good, but a crit is not that bad. You can actually play around it, so I think you're better off playing a 4-set as a Restoration Shaman as well. So now let's talk about the build. I think the build is also the one thing that is very important for any player. So let's talk about the class tree really quickly. A lot of points are interchangeable. You cannot see you can see the half of the lowest point. It is nature swiftness. We're not taking it. We're not going to play it. And also with the other builds, we're not going to play nature swiftness. But there are a few things that are interchangeable. Again, you can play without lightning last, so you don't have to, but I personally always play with lightning last because I do like the spell. But you can also just remove a few points, like for example totemic projection. If you're not playing with static field totem, it is really a bad talent, so just get it out of your system and go for something else. For example, you can go for Thunderous Paws to remove snares on you, which is again a very strong talent. I do use it on enhanced and it does feel like it's very smooth. You can play also Clan Spirit if you play versus a Shaman or a Warlock and you want to decurse. It's a very important spell, so do play that whenever you feel like you're going to get hexed or your teammates are going to get hexed. You will have to need a removal of curse in your team if you don't have that in your team. I also sometimes play with Poison Cleansing Totem to remove poisons from me or my allies whenever I'm facing a rogue. It is more worth than you would know, and it removes all kinds of things. It's really strong as well. But I also play Stone Skin Totem if I'm playing versus double physical damage dealers. For example, Warrior with the Outlaw Rogue. I think Stone Skin Totem is also very worth it. You can also play with Spirit Walk if you want to have a speed boost and a removal of movement impairing effects. You can also play Gust of Wind if you want to actually have like some sort of a blink, which is a worse blink, let's be honest, but still a leap pretty much. You can also play a Capacitator Totem, but I personally don't play that, but I can understand why you do play that. But it DRs too much for too many targets, and often or not you have a better stun class or spec with you, so you can actually utilize a stun instead of a Capacitator Totem. But those are the interchangeable things. Again, if you're playing versus a priest, you can remove Nature's Guardian for elemental warding, which is a good change, because if you're getting like mind gamed at low HP, you will just not heal, you will just die at that point. So it's better to just change those two talents. Also affliction, for example, affliction warlock, shadow priest, like a shadow play comp, could be very annoying to play with Nature's Guardian, so just play with elemental warding, which helps for the damage you're going to get in that game. Spec tree, that is the more important thing, I think. It's also the most fun thing to speak about. There's a lot of things that you can actually change as a elemental shaman. It's one of the specs that has like more builds that you can play and that are quite viable. You see that we are not playing with Stormkeeper. The only problem I see with Stormkeeper is that you have to sacrifice a lot of points into, for example, things that are not that great. For example, Inundate is not that good. Call of the Thunder is nice only if you have Stormkeepers with that build. In a vacuum, this is just not used. You're not using Lightning Bolt just purely for the Lightning Bolt. You're using with Stormkeeper. Unrelenting Calamity, again, Stormkeepers makes it instant, so reducing the cast time of Lightning Bolt doesn't change anything. So Stormkeepers, it's a fantastic spell, it's very fun, but you have to sacrifice 1, 2, 3 points to get Stormkeepers, which is the 4th point, which you're going to remove it somewhere on the tree. This is the lava build, pretty much. This is the build that is going to give you the most lava burst procs that are instants. You are not going to cast except for Ice Fury, for example, or for Hex. And often than not, if I cast Ice Fury, I get kicked on it. I am actually very happy about it. I prefer to have a kick on Frost and not being able to do a Frost Shock than being kicked on Nature, which really ruins your defensives, or getting kicked on Lava Burst, which often not it doesn't get kicked because we have a lot of instants. We play also with Flux Melting, which increases the damage of Lava Burst again. We're playing with Primordial Wave. Again, I think if you're not playing with Primordial Wave, you're missing out pretty much. Rolling Magma, which reduces the CDs of Lava Burst, but also Splintered Elements, which gives us massive haste. I think it's now nerfed to a point where you only can have 30%, if I'm not mistaken. Or it can be a bit more, but it's like not yard, but it has a ceiling. But from my understanding, this is going to give you massive haste. It's going to give you a lot of damage, and having more haste means just more lava surges, because every time your haste is going to be increased, your flame shock damage over time effect will also tick way faster, so it will give you more procs. You can also play with Primordial Surge, which it's going to add more damage. It's also going to add you the lava surges that you need immediately. I do play it sometimes, but I do feel like the extra haste is very useful, especially if you're going to do a hex after it. Afterwards, at least you have like a big haste buff that is going to help you with the hex. We have Primal Elementalist, which is a talent that is always going to be very useful. We have improved flame tongue, so we have everything that is going to help you with fire damage. We have a surge of power, which often or not I try to activate it with frost shock, which freezes the target in place for 6 seconds, but also I use it for my lava burst, where I do get a lot of CDR on the fire elemental, excuse me. So it's going to make you cast fire elemental more often in the game, which often or not is enough to make you win the game. We still play with deeply rooted elements. It's very strong. You get a lot of procs. I think it's a very high value talent as well, so just play that. And we do play with Windspeaker's Lava Resurgence instead of Skybreaker's Fire Demise. They did nerf this, by the way, so it's not really worth it. But also, this adds more damage, but also adds you a lava surge every time you're going to do a earth shock. And now with your Primordial Wave, you're going to get an Elemental Blast, which in turn will give you a lava surge proc, which gives you a instant lava burst. So you will see a lot of like things that are like tied together, and that will make your class and spec play way better down the line with the 2 set and the 4 set in place. We have Seeing Flames, only 1 point. Again, a lot of people actually ask me why 1 point. 1 point is enough to actually have a lot of Maelstrom in the game, because every time it does damage, it will give you 1 Maelstrom. 2 is very good as well, but you have to lose 1 point, and you already are trying to grasp as many points as you can to actually go for the interesting things. So again, only 1 point. I think it's enough. And overall, this is the spec. We have a second spec, which is basically with Stormkeepers, but you lose the middle row and the flame tongue weapon, and also deeply rooted elements. So it's not really a great spec. I do feel like you're losing way too much. You could maybe lose the focus insight and go for deeply rooted elements. That is also an option, but I always tend to regret to not go for the important things. For example, your healing surges actually heal for a lot if you're doing a flame shock. But again, you have many things that you can actually change and swap, but those are the talents that you have at the bottom of the tree that you're often going to play with. You can also remove deeply rooted elements to get something else, but yeah, you're pretty much tied with this. Stormkeepers, it's going to be nice, but you're going to lose the extra Maelstrom, the extra Maelstrom regeneration, so you'll have to play a bit more safer accordingly. Also, you'll have to cast way more. But this is also a very fun build, and the most fun build that you can play is the Lightning God build. This is the one I played since season 2 or season 1, I don't remember. Season 2 for sure, because we had Volcanic Surge, and Volcanic Surge is a interesting talent if you're playing with this build. Why? Because you're going to cast way more lightning bolts, so every talent that you're going to get on the left side is going to be justified. but also it will give you more damage on your lava burst. It will be going to make you more damage on the lightning bolt. Every lava surge is actually just going to improve your lightning bolt's cast time, but you're going to see that you're not going to be able to cast a lot of lava bursts, because lava surge doesn't give you a proc on your lava burst, so it means that you have 8-second CD on your lava burst, and it's very, very tough to make the switch once you play the lava build, which is the build basically throwing lava bursts for fun, pretty much. If you're playing the lightning gold build, you will feel like you're like a bit gimped on the fact that you have no lava burst, but it's a fun one. I would not recommend it in Soul Shuffle. I think it's way too risky. But if you're playing like a Caster Cleave, or you're playing a solo queue RBG, or you're playing like a rated RBG, like the team one, or just a normal RBG, I think this one is also very fun to play. Also, your Primordial Wave will activate Elemental Equilibrium from the get-go, because it will launch Elemental Blast, so you can just pump from the beginning instead of like trying to get like 3 casts to make it work. So those are the builds, but I'm going to talk mainly about the lava build. For the PvP talents, you want to not have Volcanic Surge, because you're not playing with lightning bolts, you're not playing with Stormkeepers, so you do lose a lot of value with that. But if you want to play with Volcanic Surge, you can do that, but I would not recommend it. Most of the time you're going to play with Burrow, and you're going to play with Grounding Totem, with Unleash Shield, my pet peeve talent, which gives you another knock, and that's actually very strong versus DH. You can knock the DH, and then if he does a Dev's Dance, not Dev's Dance, I don't even remember, it's the dance that they do and does a lot of damage AoE. You can push them while they're doing it, so you're going to lose a lot less HP. In general, you can just ruin them by pushing them at the right time. Also, it roots them, so again, it gives you a lot of time to actually kite. Burrow is very interesting because, again, it will give you an immunity. It will remove all movement impairing effects, and it can do a lot of damage as well. And Grounding Totem, everyone knows it, it's very strong. We also sometimes play with Sky Fury Totem, but it is very risky with the current meta being doing a lot of damage and dying because of that. So I'm playing with Burrow most of the time. You can also play with Static Field Totem, like I said. If you play with Totemic Projection, you should play with Static Field Totem, and that with also Unleash Shield, with also Grounding Totem, will give you a lot of kiting power, and it will be very annoying to face you. If you're very good at Static Field Toteming, it's going to be a blast. If you're going to do that and then you're going to displace it, they're going to be removed from that area, and you can basically just kite very well. So that is for the PvP talents. You can also have more choices. For example, Counter-Strike Totem is very interesting versus people that cannot know that the Counter-Strike Totem is here, especially on lower MMR when they're just zug-zugging. Your Counter-Strike Totem can actually give you a lot of damage, but also just make you win games. Traveling Storms is very interesting in RBGs, especially in Eye of the Storm. People are not realizing that you can knock from allies, so they're going to be very bad at positioning, while versus you, they're going to try to position to a way where you're not going to knock them off the map. So again, you can use that and that knowledge to actually ruin their day. Season wins, I do play it versus Destruction Warlocks. If you can kick 3 times the Chaos Bolt, it is actually a very big wall at all times for 18 seconds, so very strong. Also versus Shadow Priest with a DH or Shadow Priest with an Unholy DK. If you're kicking the Shadow Priest, you're actually DRing also damage reduction on the Unholy DK, so it's actually very, very good as a talent. So I would recommend to play that as well. So those are the talents. Let's talk about the play style, I would say, because rotation is very difficult, because I feel like it's pretty much do a lava burst whenever you have a lava surge proc and try to hex whenever you can. So what you want to do is have a flame shock on everyone. And I always start with a earth elemental to get the extra HP from the talent, which is brimming with life, but also earth elemental, so you will get a lot of maximum HP, which some people don't want to face. So what you're gonna do is put flame shocks on 3 targets often than not, and then you can just burst whenever you want. You have your fire elemental up, and then you can just blast with earth shocks whenever you can, lava surge with lava burst whenever you can, earth shock, lava burst, and then you can just do a frost shock, ice fury if you want to, and then another lava burst, and you try to keep that pace and try to maintain the flame shocks on any target if you want to. Try to interrupt some casts with lightning lasso, try to do a hex on a separate target whenever you can. Unfortunately I cannot do that on a dummy. But if you can actually put multiple flame shocks and then you're going to do a primordial wave, it gives you a lot of haste, which is for free. Again, 28% haste. It gives you a lot of haste. I have 70%, which gives you a lot of lava surges, a lot of lava burst potential. And at the end of the day, if you have more haste, it will mean more damage. So just play like that. How to survive. Pretty much if you are near the target, you can just do an unleash shield. You're going to push them away. They're going to get rooted. If it's a warrior, generally they're going to leap on you or they're going to charge. You can do another thunderstorm, and then you can kite with your class. Try to have a healing stream totem whenever you can. It adds a lot of healing as well. Try to maintain earth shield. I know it's very hard because you're doing a lot of stuff at the same time, but it also adds a lot of healing as well, and it also just improves your healing done on yourself, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so just do that as well. Try to do ancestral guidance whenever you're bursting, because it will give you more healing as well. Grounding totem whenever you have no wind shear. If you have a wind shear and you have grinding totem, it will depend on the situation. If you see a paladin rushing on the healer, just do a grounding totem, because you know he's going to harsh. He's not going to go there just for a party or for tea time. They're going to try to CC your healer, so just play with that. Also, tremor totem instantly whenever your healer is feared. I don't care if you're doing something else, it's very important. And I myself, I am also a not victim, but you can blame me also for that, because sometimes it does happen, but it is not the play. What you want to do is be careful and help your healer whenever you can by doing a frost shock to freeze them in place, grounding totem whenever someone is getting hodged, for example, or a tremor totem whenever someone is feared, charmed, or slept. So it also works with sleepwalk from evokers, so do play that as well. A greater purge, we do play with that because it's a 1 GCD for 2 beneficial magic effects. You're not really going to spam purge anyways in this current meta, but again, try to play that. And in general, that's it. That is pretty much the rotation. That is pretty much how you do consistent damage, how you try to help your teammates and help them survive more damage. If they are going on you, then at least you have the tools to push them away with Thunderstorm, or even with your Unleash Shield, you can just push them away and root them, which is also very strong with a Lightning Lasso at the end of the day, or with another root at their feet, so you can actually just expect a dispel, or they're going to try to go back to you, but a bit over a slower time. Macros, so we do play with macros. We have a primordial wave, which is normally with 14, but we are not playing with badge. But if you want to play with badge, you can do with primordial wave. We have a hex focus macro. I often not always hex the focused target, but I also sometimes play with just normal hex and I'll try to hex the DPS. We do play with Meteor, the keybind for your fire elemental. It works, so just play with that as well. We also play with a focus wind shear macro. It's very standard. We have an off-heal macro as well, party 1, party 2. And that's it. You can play also help and harm with healing surge and lightning bolt if you want to. I don't do that with this spec, but with Resto Shaman I do that as well. We have Flame Shock and Riptide, but I will be discussing it if I'm making a Restoration Shaman guide. But this is pretty much the guide. If you have any questions with how to play Elemental Shaman, how to build effectively, what are your questions about like embellishments or whatever, if I have missed something, please do tell me in the comment section below so I can actually help you. Overall, I will also make and put some gameplay videos about Elemental Shaman in the near future, but I'm trying to work the guides up, also the tier list that I promised, so I can actually be up to date, and then I can make a lot more gameplay videos for you guys. But again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other probably very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.